Hi everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my tutorial channel. Daniel's here and today I'm making my second video in the series of elementary statistics. And today, to continue working on basics idea of statistics, I would like to talk about types of data. So first, data set. What is data set? Remember in our first lesson I introduced 6 types of sampling methods and how to collect a sample. So once a sample is collected, what we need to do next is summarize the information of the sample into a table. So such table is called a dataset. So dataset is basically a collection of information represented in a table. For example, this dataset represents the major final exam score and grade for several students. And here in the dataset, we have 5 individuals. Those are 5 students, and their information, major, exam score, and grade. So these 3 pieces of information are called 3 variables. For the first piece of information, it tells us what majors of the student is. The second piece of information tells us the exam scores of the students. And the last piece of information tells us about their letter grade of their performance. So here data says we have 3 pieces of information. So these 3 pieces of information are called variables. And variables, you see sometimes variables are listed in categories, sometimes it's listed in numbers. So we have 2 types of variables, either categorical variables or numerical variables. And for categorical variables, we call them qualitative variables. And numerical variables are called qualitative variables. So now let's look at the difference between qualitative variables and quantitative variables. If you look back to the last example, you see measure, the piece of information about measure. Here we have 4 categories. So this is an example of categorical variables. The second information, we have 5 numbers. So this information is represented in numbers. And the last information is represented in 3 categories. So categorical variables or qualitative variables are basically the variables whose value are represented in categories. And quantitative variables are basically the variables whose values are represented in numbers. So definition: qualitative variables or categorical variables classify individuals into categories. For example, types of cars, either Jeeps, Honda, or Mercedes, blah blah blah. Or letter of grades, the student performance may be given letter A, B, C, D, or F. Quantitative variables or numerical variables tells us how much or how many of something there is. For example, the number of children in a family, the height of students. And one thing we should notice here, for qualitative variables are basically description. For example, types of cars, the type of cars tells us about what kind of car. The type of cars is description of the car. The letter grade is the description of the student performance. And quantitative variables are counts or measurement. For example, the number of children in a family is an example of counts. The height of students is an example of measurements. So that is the difference between qualitative variables and quantitative variables. Now I would like to give you a practice. Which of the following variables are qualitative and which are quantitative? Here I have 4 variables: a person's age, a person's place of birth, the mileage of a car, the color of a car. So let's work on the first example. A person's age can be either 56 years old, 45 years old, 1 year old, or 100 years old. So those values are numbers. So this is an example of quantitative variables or numerical variables. The second example, a person's place of birth. So if you are born in, if you were born in New York, your place of birth is New York. If you was born in Los Angeles, your place of birth is Los Angeles. So the place of birth is basically the name of the location of the city of a countries. So those values are categoricals, so qualitative variables. Next, the mileage in miles per gallon of a car. So a person can travel either 100 miles, 800 miles. So those values are numbers. So this is an example of numerical variables or quantitative variables. The color of car can be either red, blue, silver, black. So those the values of the color of a car are represented in categoricals, in categories. So this is an example of qualitative variables. So that is about qualitative variables and quantitative variables. Now we are going to work on one by one. Let's start with qualitative variables. In qualitative variables, we have two types, either ordinal or nominal variables. So qualitative variables come into two types: ordinal variables and nominal variables. An ordinal variable is one whose categories have a natural ordering. That means ordinal variables takes orders into account. For example, the letter grade received in a class such as A, B, C, D, and F. So we have the orders. A should be first, then we have B, C, D, and F. We never mess up the orders of these 5 categories. In the contrary, a nominal variable is one whose categories have no natural ordering. For example, the types cars, we either can list Jeep first or Honda first. It doesn't matter which type cars we list first in the data set. So that is about ordinal and nominal. Now let's look at some practice. Practice 2. Which of the following variables are ordinal and which are nominal? Here I'm giving you 4 examples. State of residence. So the state of residence can be either Louisiana, Alabama, New York, New Jersey, California. So those categories can be listed whatever. Like we can list New York first, then Louisiana, or we can list California first. So it doesn't matter which state to the order in this situation is doesn't matter. So this is an example of nominal. Now genders, we can either have female or male, assuming we don't care about transgender and bisexual. So gender, we can either have girl first or boy first. The order in this situation doesn't matter either. So this is an example of nominal. Now letter grade in a class A, B, C, D, F. The letters itself does have an order. So you see in this example the letter grades does have an order. So this is an example of ordinal. Inside of soft drink order, either small, medium, or large. If you go to a restaurant and you look at the menu, you'll see the menu will list the size of soft drink by small and then medium and large. They never mess up the order. So this is an example of ordinal. So that's about qualitative variables, ordinal and nominal variables. Now we look at the second type variables, quantitative variables. So quantitative variables can be either discrete or continuous. Discrete variables are those whose possible values can be listed. The list may be infinite. For example, the list of all whole numbers. So you know the list of whole numbers is start by 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep and so on, never stops. So example, often discrete variables result from counting some things. So possible value of variables are 0, 1, 2, and so forth. Continuous variables can take any value within some interval. For example, the height of a continuous variable, the height is a continuous variable because someone's height can be either 68 or 68.1 or 68.14523889. So you see here the difference between discrete and continuous variables is the discrete variable, the value can be less because we have 0, 1, 2, 3. We don't have any value between 0 and 1. We don't have any value between 1 and 2. But for continuous value between 68.1 and 68.2, we have infinite numbers. For example, 68.12, 68.19, 68.14523889 inches. So the possible values of pi are not restricted in a list like we have infinite numbers. So that's the difference between discrete and continuous. Now let's look at a practice. Which of the following variables are discrete and which are continuous? Here I'm giving you 4 examples. The age of a student at his or her last birthday. So the age of a person can be either 45, 68, 86. So those numbers are whole number. You don't have like 2.5 years old, 6.5 years old, because when you turn to your birthday, your age should be a whole number. Your age should be a whole number. So this is an example of discrete because the age of a person at his or her last birthday can be listed. Second example, the height of a person. So the height of a person can be either 6.5 feet. We don't have 6.5 feet because it's almost impossible. For example, 5.2 feet, 4.2 feet, or 5.456 feet. So the height of a person is cannot be a whole number. It can be any number in an interval. So this is an example of continuous. Next, the number of siblings a person has. So we either have a person might have no sibling, 1 sibling, 2 siblings, or more. So the number of siblings cannot be a decimal, right? The number of siblings just can be either 0, 1, 2, 3. That means the number of siblings must be a whole number. So this is an example of discrete. The distance of person commute to work. So you either can live like 2.5 miles from your workplace, 1.2 miles from your workplace, or 2.566 miles from your workplace. So the value of these variables cannot be listed because the value of this variable can take any value in any interval. So that is an example of continuous. So I have finished quantitative variable and qualitative variables. Now let's take a look back to what we have learned today. So today we have learned about datasets, and in the dataset we have individuals and variables. Variables can be either qualitative variables or quantitative variables. Qualitative variables can be either ordinal or nominal variables, and quantitative variables can be either discrete or continuous variables. So today we have learned four types ordinal variables, and now I would like to give you some more problems. Problem number 1: determine the types of variables below. The number of patients admitted to a hospital on a given day. So here we have nominal and ordinal. Those are categorical or qualitative variables. Discrete and continuous variables are numerical or quantitative variables. So first example, the number of patients admitted to a hospital on a given day. The number of patients cannot be a decimal. It should be a whole numbers. It should be a whole number. For example, no patients, 1 patient, 5 patients. So this is an example of quantitative variables, and it cannot be a decimal, so this should be discrete. The second example, the model of a car last sold by a particular car dealer. So the model of a car can be either Honda chips. So this is categoricals, right? Categorical variables. And this is an example of nominal. The name of your favorite song, this should be categorical, and you either like, for example, you love the songs Safe and Sound or Dark Horse. So those names are categorical variables, and it should be nominal because the name of the favorite song can be doesn't have orders. The seating capacity of an auditorium. So if you enter an auditorium, you see the seats of that auditorium can be labeled by letter or numbers. So the seats in an auditorium does have orders, right? Does have orders. So this is ordinal variables. Your best friend name. This is an example of qualitative variables, and it should be nominal. The number of touchdowns in a football game. So here the number of touchdowns can be either 0, 1, 2, 3. So those are whole numbers. So this is an example of discrete variables. The title of your statistics book. For example, you love elementary statistics or introduction to statistics or multivariable statistics. So the title of your statistics book does not have order, and it should be qualitative, so this is nominal. The number of cars sold by a car dealer last month. So the number of cars sold can be either 0, 1, 2, 3, so or so forth. So the number of cars sold by a car dealer last month should be a discrete variables. The amount of water a puppy drinks in a day should be continuous, because a puppy can drink either 2.5 liter, 1.2 liter, 0.5 liter. Problem number 2, how's the economy? A poll conducted by the American Research Group asked individuals their views on how the economy will be in a year from now. Respondents were given 4 choices: better than today, same as today, worse than today, and undecided. Are these choices nominal or ordinal? Then global warming. A recent Pew poll asked people between the ages of 18 and 29 how serious a problem global warming is. Of those who responded, 43% thought it was very serious, 24% thought it was somewhat serious, 15% thought it was too serious, and 17% thought it was not a problem. Are these percentages qualitative or quantitative? This should be quantitative because the values are numbers, right? So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching my video. And by the way, I would like to introduce the textbook that I used to make this video is Essential Statistics, 2nd edition of William Navide and Bory Monk. So that's all for today. Thank you so much, and hope to see you guys next video. Bye bye.